the Alter Slobadka number 12. We were trying to focus, why was the Alter Matzliach, how was he Matzliach, what was the magic? So one thing which has to be said, which is basically a simple point, but would be errant to not mention, is there were 2 points. One is his Siyata Deshmaya and his personal example, his incredible Madrega and his personal example. What do I mean by incredible Madrega? People have this type of Siyata Deshmaya, the unusual Siyata Deshmaya the Alter have. It's something that's understandable. He was a huge tzaddik, he was an enormous person, and Hashem was with him in his efforts. He was totally bottled to the Baruch Shalom what he was trying to do. That's a Mazliach. We have to remember that sometimes when we see great Atzlacha, and Asher Arieli, or other people, or Rav Asher's been Matzliach for 35 years, having the biggest year in the world for who knows how many years, tens of thousands of Talmidim. I don't think that's a normal thing. That's Siyata Deshmaya. That's someone who's a Baal Madrega, and someone who has that level of Siyata Deshmaya is a tremendous Baal Madrega. I heard two Rosh Yeshivas speaking recently about another communal leader he was trying something which others before him hadn't been Matzliach in. And it seemed like he was doing the same thing, and if you will, he was going the same path and making the same type of mistake. And one Rosh Yeshiva commented to the other, says, look, he's not going to be Matzliach. And the second commented correctly, says, look, he's a bigger Baal Madrega than many people who tried before him. So he'll have Siyat Deshmaya in his efforts, and Hashem will give bracha to his efforts. That's an important thing for us to, in our trying to understand the methodology and how he was Matzliach, to appreciate that someone of his level of tzidkus reaches great things. That's one thing. The other point is his personal example. When the Alter would speak, you would listen, right? He was Beinei. We mentioned before how Rav said had no critique on him. He said he was just he was a Malach Hashem Tzvakos, but it was everything about him. It was his Torah, which we'll talk about a little bit next time, his tremendous tznius, his midas hatava, his yidiyas amukos and kochas and nefesh, his tremendous understanding of how people worked, his mesiras nefesh, all the things we've been discussing, his absolute control over everything he said, his being mechushav, his knowledge about himself. And you can imagine when someone like that would speak to you, you would listen to him because he knew exactly what he was saying. He was totally in control of himself. He knew he was doing exactly for you, exactly for Kavod Shemaim. He had no other interest. That's the personal example. So I imagine that his message has hit his Talmidim in a way that others wouldn't. Those are two different points about how he was Matzliach, that by having a tremendous level of tremendous madrega, which was roy for the type of Siyat Deshmaya, heavenly help which he got into by being somebody that his Talmidim would want to listen to. And those are obvious points for us to work on ourselves. Whatever we want to do that we want to be Matzliach, and we have to always check ourselves of what's our personal level. Hashem in our generation gives a lot of tzlach even to people who are not such madregas, but for sure the higher madrega will be on. The more will be Matzliach, and the more our personal example is, the more we walk the walk and talk the talk, and the more we walk the walk, you know what I mean, the more we're real, the more others will listen to us. Chazal say, Gemara and Brachos, I believe, Dav Zayin, Mishesh bo Yer Shemaim, Dvar of Nishmaim, someone who has Yer Shemaim, someone who fears God, his words are listened to. Let's end this session with a story that they say about Rav Ruderman. A certain person who had learned in Slobadka had gone kind of, personally I think he stayed religious, but he became connected to the conservative movement, whatever you will call it, and but he had learned in Slobadka, truth be told, and the Alter was wary of him back then, and he came to see his old classmate, if you will, Rav Ruderman, or Shiva of Ner Yisrael, and Ruderman, they say, ran away. I think I've heard another nusach that they were in the same hotel. Rav Ruderman switched hotels. Someone asked Rav Ruderman why. He was already Rosh Yeshiva, an older person at this stage. He says, the Alter told me to stay away from him. That was enough. The Alter said to stay away from him. Decades later, Ruderman was already a big Rosh Yeshiva. What do you have to worry about? The Alter said to stay away. When the Alter said to stay away, you stayed away. That was because of his madrega and his personal example. To tell me to listen to him.